Welcome to 60 Scales and the Truth, a podcast where amazing guitar players reflect on their lives and on how they got where they are today. My name is Niels Guns. I'm a journalist, podcast maker, and a guitar fanatic. Thanks for tuning in. My guest today, well, does he really need an introduction? I don't really think so. The only thing I need to say is that his music touches me and many others around the world.
Thank you, Niels.
He tells stories without words.
I try.
Hopefully now also with words. Welcome to this episode, Tommy Emmanuel.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Dankjewel.
Yeah, that's for the Dutch.
Yeah.
Some Dutch, we're learning some Dutch.
A little Dutch, yeah. Oh, let up drempels. So
let up drempels, yes.
It's an incredible language. You know? And I have a lot of great friends coming from the Netherlands.
Let's maybe talk about them later on.
Sure.
I'd like to start at the beginning. I read an interview in which you said, I don't remember much from before playing the guitar. Do you think the guitar kind of started up your memory, so to say, as well?
Yeah, I think so. I can only say what my mother told me because I was too young. But I do know that I was obsessed with music. It's all I thought about. It's all I wanted to hear and be involved with. And then crazy things like my mother doing the washing, the laundry. And in the old days, washing machines had a tumbler kind of thing, and it was connected with an engine and a gearbox. And so you had to pull clunk, clunk, and then it went kung, 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 kung. Kung, kung, and it had this groove, right? Mm-hmm. So when I heard clunk, clunk, I would run down the hallway so I could dance with the washing machine because I was attracted to that kung, 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 kung. And sometimes I tell people, I move like this because of the washing machine.
Yeah.
But, it's a funny thing. I read the same thing about Jeff Porcaro, the great drummer, who said that his mother doing the washing, he would hear the washing machine and it would make him move and dance and tap his foot to it. And I feel the same way when I'm riding on a train or something. I think it might be a reason why I write songs on trains. So just about every time I ride on a train, I end up writing a song, because this rhythm gets in me, But we were all into music, and my mother she was one of these ladies who, she had 6 children. Most of us we're only 2 years apart. And, she did all the cooking and the washing and ran the house and did all that while dancing around and singing, and playing music loud in the house on the record player, And so
Hawaiian music, I heard, right?
She loved, she was learning Hawaiian music in those days. But, it's such a long time ago, but I think those times were part of the building process of what woke up whatever was in me. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I played for one of my heroes, Jerry Reed, and he listened to me play a song, and then when I finished, he just kind of took his glasses off and he looked at me and he said, "You didn't learn that. You were born with that." And it's the last thing I expected someone like him to say, but he said, "Oh, you were born with that, and it's in you, and you have to go with it." And it was the same for him. I'm sure, I said to him, "How did you end up playing and singing and writing the way you did? Nobody was like Jerry Reed." And his answer was simple. He said, "I was just trying to be like Ray Charles." And then I went, that's what it is,
But that's interesting because that's also that's talent. You're talking about talent, then, right? If it's in you, it's something you just have to reveal, right?
Yeah, it's a gift, and you have this gift because you're meant. It's meant for the benefit of others.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the vessel, and now you share your gift for the benefit of everyone else.
Was there any time, a moment in your life that you weren't going to go in that direction of being a pro guitar player, or was it from the get-go when music entered your life?
Yeah, it's never left me. It's never. There have been some really hard times, and these are the times that you find out what you're made of, and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a go at everything. I've tried to educate myself as I do today, but I've had a go at everything. I've tried to put my inhibitions away and say, okay, I'm going to take this job in this TV station, and I've told these people I can read the chart, and really I'm just following the chords and listening to the melody, and so I've taken on this job as a way to pay bills and to get experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was a drummer for a long time and a bass player, and I had to go at many different things. So I've been in jazz bands, I've been in country music, bluegrass, rock and roll, funk, R&B, you name it. I've had a go at it,
Mm-hmm.
and
but always music.
Always music, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So we talked about your mother. Another important person, of course, was your brother Phil.
Mm-hmm.
With
And my brother Chris, who was a drummer.
Chris, yeah. But with Phil, you had some sort of competition, I heard, but like also a healthy one that in which you can raise your level.
When we were kids, we invented games because we're traveling all the time. That's many hours for young boys to be sitting in a car.
Mm-hmm.
So we would invent games where Phil would play a chord, and I would have to say what the chord was,
mm-hmm.
and what the inversion was, whether it was a 7th or a 6th or a 13. And how do you know it's a 13? Because it's got a 7 and a 6 in it. The math side of music came into play because my brother was mathematically, he was so brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when not long before he passed away, he said to me one day, I can remember all your phone numbers from when you moved to Sydney in 1976. I can remember them all in order. And he rattled them off, and they were right. And they were in the right order. That's how his brain worked.
Yeah. Does that help you playing guitar? Like, because in some aspect, it is sometimes mathematical. Like you say, okay, there's a 3rd and a 6th and a 9th. And
well, it's all about... What you're talking about here, the games that my brother and I played were intentional to make our ears work, to recognize sound, chords, keys, and their relationship. So all I have to do, like if I can find a D, now, da 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 da. If I can find a D, like that, then I can go up to E, then I can go to F, and then I can, you know what I mean? I can have all the relationships with that one note. I can understand all the chords around it, and that's just
how old were you?
How my brain works.
When you were playing these games, how old were you then?
5, 6, 7.
That's like conservatory at 5 then, right?
We were little, yeah. We were inventing games that kept us in competition with each other, pushing each other, but expanding our minds,
That's interesting about the game aspect, because games can do that with the learning process to keep it joyful, right?
Oh, totally. But I remember I had an incredible moment when I was reading Muhammad Ali's book called The Soul of a Butterfly. And there was a chapter written about him and his brother when they were little. And he invented this game with his brother and didn't know why, but he wanted his brother to throw things at him to see if he could hit him. and he could always duck and weave and get out of the way. Now, he didn't know why he was doing that, and I was so moved by that because when you watch him move, you see something superhuman there. At his peak, there was nobody who moved like that, and that really touched me because Phil and I didn't know why we needed to do this or why we wanted to do it, but it did help us. And I think, we would hear a song on the radio like Yesterday, and Phil would say, that's F, A7 to D minor. He would immediately go to it. And he taught me to do that, listen and be sure of that. That's a D to B minor, so we find the root key what we're in, and then we find the relationship of the chords to that key. And that's kind of how it works for me.
Was it particularly you, Chris, and Phil, or like did all the kids play along with these kind of games?
Well, our sister Virginia, my older sister, she played lap steel guitar, like you wanted to be like Mum, I guess. And she was good at it. She had a real good sound, and she had that really wide vibrato that famous Hawaiian players had in kind of like Sol Hupai. She copied his style. So it's just so long ago that
Yeah, I told you we started at the beginning.
We did, yeah. Yeah. And, so we were a band, and basically what we did is we heard music that was on the radio that was popular, and we heard it everywhere, coming out every car, out of every cafe, and so we would listen to it and work it out and then put it in the show and play it.
So, others in the family were involved too with that.
Well, the little ones were too little. It was the four of us.
Okay. That's kind of also a gold mine that if you learn that so young, you can catch up with that probably if you start with that later on in your life, right?
Well, it's different for everybody. Everybody's journey is a little different. I remember when I first moved to Sydney, and there was a guitar player named George Goller, who's still with us. I don't know how old George is now, but he was the guy who was playing on everyone's records. He could sight read. He was a great jazz player and all that. And I felt very intimidated by him because I couldn't read a note, and I was a country boy, When I met him, I was so surprised at firstly how nice he was. And his knowledge to me was like, I couldn't even fathom it, But he said to me, well, I only picked up the guitar because I was trying to get work, and I was a trombone player. And I saw that because of rock and roll, everybody wanted electric guitar players. So I just took up the guitar and taught myself in no time, and because I could already read, and I got work, so quickly. And I was amazed at that,
Yeah, so but that's also talent. Then,
it's
right?
talent. Exactly. George's extraordinary talent, He's also talented in many ways, and very funny, has a great way to look at life. I remember I was on a jazz festival, and I was on before him and his partner. And as I rolled up and finished my show and waved to the crowd and everything, I came off stage, and he said to me, "Thomas, you had them eating out of their hands."
That reminds me of something Mike Dawes told me. He said, what Tommy taught me was kill, maim, and destroy.
That's right.
If you go on stage, that's the mindset.
It absolutely.
How did that mindset came about? Can you tell me something about that? Because I can imagine it's not that a 5-year-old boy says, "Okay, that's my mind." Like, how did that develop?
Oh, it's just out of necessity. Most people in the old days, you got to remember who came before me. There were kind of folky English guys like Bert Jansen and Pentangle and all that, and And there was Leo Kottke and Doc Watson and people like that. And when you went to an acoustic guitar show, a guy came out and sat with an acoustic guitar with a mic and played some tunes, and that's how it was. And I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to be a rock and roll show. I wanted to sound as big as a band. I wanted everything to be, as big as I could get it.
Overwhelming, so to say.
Well, just powerful, And so that was kind of, that was, kill, maim, and destroy was something I said to Mike one day. I said, when you go on stage, it's kill, maim, and destroy. I'm going to wreck this place. I'm going to blow the roof off it. And the idea is that you give people something that they can't get anywhere else, right? And that they have to have again. It leaves them with a feeling of, my God, I didn't think about anything but what was going on in front of me, and I got inside the music, the whole thing, and then the show's over and it's like, oh my God. And I always tell students when I'm teaching, I always tell people at masterclasses and stuff, I say, what do you want to hear at the end of the show? And someone put up their hand and say, you played well. I said, no, that's not what I want to hear. What do you want to hear? You gave it your all. Yep. That's important, but that's not what I want to hear. What I want to hear is this. When are you coming back? That's what you want to hear, because we need a good job. We need work. We need to be working out here,
So I was thinking that you're going to say, because I'm thinking of a show of Mike Stern I once saw. And afterwards, I just wanted to hear nothing. I didn't want him because
he said everything.
No, the whole concert I need to resonated in my head afterwards. But do you tell yourself that deliberately every time you go on stage?
No, of course not.
Or is that
it's in my blood?
Yeah, okay. But because some artists, there's a switch, so to say, right? There's before going on stage, and then there's some sort of act also, maybe perhaps. But
right.
But with you, it's
I
not
think
like
if
that.
you've done it as long as I have, you probably go, okay, I'm on, kind of thing,
Yeah.
Actually, it works the opposite for me. I have to make myself calm to be talking with you like this today. Otherwise, I want to get my guitar and put this mic in front of it and start playing. And you know
Maybe
what I mean?
We might do.
So, but I have to be making myself be calm, because I wake up on 11. I'm already up. And I always tell people, when you go on stage, you better give it everything you got. Get out there and just don't hold anything back, because if you do, then I'm going to come up there and push you off, and I'll come on there. So it's like get out of the way kind of thing. So I always tell people, this is what really connects with people. If you've got something to say, then say it with all your heart.
But I can imagine there's days that you are full with energy. Maybe you every day, I don't know. And sometimes you're maybe a bit down on energy. Like, how do you cope with that? Like, how you get there if you have a day like,
It's a very interesting point, because a lot, especially places like Berklee College of Music, will say to me, I've seen you 50 times, blah, blah, blah. And are you always on? It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you're right. I'm not always on. And when I'm not on, like there are some times when you're always waiting for the magic to happen. All right. Your improvisation ideas will flow. Your tempos are just right, or the feeling is just right. Your tuning is just right. All the stars line up, whatever. But there are some nights where nothing pleases you, where you can't play for crap, and you're really struggling. This is the time you better have a good repertoire. You better have good arrangements and good songs to play, because even on your worst night, if you play those songs well, everything's going to be fine. The audience will not know that you're having a bad night.
Yeah, you have some sort of mattress, so to say, at where you won't sink under.
I can depend on my repertoire has been built all my life, and I know what to call on when I need it. But you always fly out there. You fly your kite as high as you can, and you are open and honest and vulnerable. But if you know it's just, you're not being pleased inside by what you're doing, then you better switch gears and find some really great arrangements of great songs that the people will like, and play them with all your heart and give it the best you can. Because if it's so easy to start beating yourself up on stage. I've done it a million times, and I wish I hadn't. But anyway, I did. But I try not to do that. I do shout at myself sometimes. Come on! Just to make the adrenaline pump through my body by going, like that. So sometimes you need a little boost.
But is that also why you don't play with a set list, that you can, that you're able to, okay, now I or the audience needs this song, regardless of what the paper says?
Yeah, exactly. The only time I use a set list is if I'm playing with a band or an orchestra or a string quartet or whatever. So people need to know what's coming next. When I'm on my own, I just let it fly, and I see what I want to do next. But I've done it a long time, so I know how to get it rolling and how to keep it rolling and to build it and then let it breathe. And
how does that mindset, because it seems like a very mindful mindset, right? Like being where you are and feeling and what's needed. How does that help you in the rest of your life when you're off stage?
Well, that's what I'm still learning. Part of me is still a child, really.
What do you mean with that?
Well, I still don't understand human nature so well. So sometimes I get frustrated with what people are thinking or doing, and it's like, how could you be like that? But that's just human nature, to be, starting a war with some country that's got nothing to do with these people are not attacking us, or when I see things like that, I just have to say, I do not understand human nature. Why don't I understand it?
But this is the second time I met you, and it seems to me that you do know, because the last time what struck me, we had an interview on a couch. And,
that's right. We had fun.
Yeah, it was really nice with Mike Dawes along with it. But I thought, hey, okay, Tommy, he remembered the girl that was giving him coffee, her name.
Yeah.
And you remembered the sound man's name. And so you were so there, right? And you say, I don't understand human nature, but I think that's maybe partly true, right? I mean, in a big sense, you do connect a lot of times.
I try to. And, I think really of the almost 70 years I've been alive, I think the greatest gift to me is being present. It's so important to me that I'm absolutely present 100% to the people around me. And I struggle because I have hearing loss that I was born with. And sometimes people say things, even the guys who work with me. Yesterday, I said, I looked at the ticket and I said, oh, it's going to be B10. And my lighting director, Zach, looked at me and said, I just said that 4 times to you. I didn't hear it once, But anyway, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, so that's the struggle of being there, the loss of sound.
Yeah. But, I want people to know, like yesterday at the airport, in Lyon, in France, I stood in line and I got a cup of coffee and a thing, and the lady was so nice. She really was, and she said, "Now, do you want, how much milk do you want in that?" And, and she was really being caring, and I really appreciated it. And when they called our flight and I finished the coffee, and there was a big crowd at the thing, I made sure that I went past her and I said, "Thank you so much. That was great coffee." That I felt the need to just do that because she really showed me that she cared about the way I wanted my coffee, and I thought, holy smoke,
That's also being.
Yeah, it stayed with me. When someone does that, it stays with me the same as if someone's rude. That stays with me until I can put it away.
In the other interview, you also said, like, I wasn't present for a long time. That had to do with some struggles you had in your life.
Oh yeah, I had addictions and everything that I'm very grateful that I don't struggle with that anymore. That's why I'm present.
Yeah, but I'm curious how because in another interview you said I had to learn to live again. How did that process affect your playing? Right, because that must have done also something with, or maybe not.
I think it took me back. It made me stop running forward with my head down, and look at where I'm at and look at my playing and find the beauty in it again, and find the love in it again. So yeah.
Pausing at one point helped you then as well, right? Then,
yeah, because you have to look at your behavior in your addiction, and you have to ask yourself: did I lie? Did I do the wrong thing? Did I take advantage of people? Or did all these things that we really hate? Yes, I did all those things because I was an addict, right? So I don't have to think about them today because they don't exist in my life anymore, which is such a blessing. But they were there, and I had to deal with them, each one individually, with counseling and share it with others and write it out and do all that, and you basically, when you get, really clean and living a proper life, you get another chance, you get another life, and it's so much better.
Yeah, and as far as your playing goes, like,
as far as my playing goes, I think my playing is a lot better. Definitely.
Yeah.
I am more connected to the child part of my character, who wants to absolutely fly his kite as high as possible. But then there's the experience and the older guy in me who says, we're going to do that in a moment. Just be calm,
So that's the young and the old Tommy.
Yeah,
battling. And where do you end up usually? Like high or
always high?
So young Tommy wins
always. Yeah.
About experience, how does experience help you?
Well, experience helps me every day. The same with anybody's job, kind of thing. My experience it has prepared me for today. For instance, we traveled with 3 flights from Corsica yesterday, and 2 of my guitars never made it last night into Germany. So I have 1 guitar. I know I've got a show because I have 1 guitar, so I'll be okay. I just won't have all the other tunings and the other sounds and all that, but I want to know where my guitars are and how I can get them and all that sort of stuff. But my experience is not letting me panic and go into, we have to cancel the show. I haven't got my 3 guitars. I can do a show with a penny whistle, So
people, tonight is going to be a penny whistle show.
Penny whistle show.
Sorry, no guitar tonight.
Yeah, the crowd went mild.
So, but what experience learned you how to improvise then?
Absolutely, yeah, and how to find the best from the situation I'm in. So it's not a concert hall; it's outdoors. Hopefully, the weather's going to be nice. Unfortunately, in Corsica, we got completely rained out. Everything got wet, and I had to get my guitars into the dressing room and all that. But I'm very calm, and I know everything's going to be okay.
Didn't smash the guitar you have left. Oh no!
I've been playing it all morning.
Yeah,
but I haven't strung it up because it's got big strings on it and it's tuned down low. So I only use that for a few songs in the show, like normal low tuning. So if the other guitars don't make it today, then I'm going to have to put normal guitar strings on it, tune it up to normal pitch. I'm going to have to scratch it up so I can play percussion on it. And it will now be my number one tonight.
You just played it before this interview, and you earlier mentioned the word intimidated. And it's funny, when I just heard you play, in a way I was intimidated, but the love, the music, it prevailed, right? I was like, this is just beautiful.
Well, I wasn't, the last thing I would want to do is intimidate
Yeah,
anybody.
but that just happens, right? Wow, but that went gone very fast. Like, it's
good. Because I remember when, in 1980, when I came to America to meet my hero, Chet Atkins.
Yeah.
And when I arrived at his office, and his secretary said, sit there, and he comes down, and all of a sudden, you can't believe, all my fears came to grip me so badly. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, what if I play for him and he realizes I've stolen everything, and and I'm just and I start really beating myself up about, And of course he comes down the stairs, and when I look at him, there he is, the guy on the record. He looks exactly, and he came over to me, and he just put his arm on my shoulder, and he must have known exactly what I was going through at that very moment, Mr. Confident had ran out, and Mr. Full of anxiety was there. And he said, hey, would you like to play a little? Like that. And he just led me into another room, and he said, let me hear you pick something. So I start playing Me and Bobby McGee, and playing this tune. And he just watches me for a while, and then he joins in. And when he joins in, what he played made me sound so good. What he played. It was so beautiful and connected with the song. And all my fears just melted away, and he made me feel like I was family or something.
He later on certified you.
Yeah.
He said, now you're certified.
Yeah. So I always try my hardest to let people know that you can just talk to me like, I'm your neighbor, because that's really what I am. I don't want any barriers between us, because they don't exist to me. I don't see myself as any different from anyone else, although, my life is a little unusual by the world's standards, kind of thing. But hell, I'm not Stevie Wonder. And so I always try to tell people, I live in the herd. I live in the real world. I move amongst the real people. I don't want to be isolated because I think I'm a star or something. That's not me,
What Mike Dawes said is, like, if we have to get up really early and we have to leave the hotel at 4:30 to get a show. Tommy will be playing at 4 a.m. In the lobby with the guy doing the night shift. Right?
That's right.
that seemed to be like this to connect with whoever's around you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But talking about Mike Dawes, and you just mentioned Chet Atkins, who was sort of a mentor, right?
He certainly was.
Do you have the same kind of relationship with Mike? You think?
Well, Mike. Well, I can hear a little bit of my influence in Mike's writing, which it took me a lot to admit that. but that's good, because I always tell people, steal what you need, because nobody owns it. Mm-hmm. You know, music is a gift. Mm-hmm. It's here for us. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say, don't you play that lick of mine, blah, blah, blah. Well, where the hell do you think I got it from? I stole it from James Burton and Albert Lee, and then I changed it. And you know what I mean? We all are guilty of petty theft, all of us. It's a language. That's how it gets handed on, you know. And I may have written the songs and put the notes and the chords in that order, but it's just a song, you know. It's not heart surgery or brain surgery or running into a burning building saving a baby. It's just a song, you know. It's just a show. In fact, the words "it's just" are very helpful. Yeah, because it's in us generally to make things way bigger than they really are. You know, it's like, what's going to happen if blah, blah, blah? Well, it's just a show. You know,
but that's also interesting, because music's both, it's just music, but it's also the most important, right? At the same time.
Absolutely.
Like, what would we do without it?
Without
right?
it, exactly. It's, you know, art, art being as in film or in recording, in composing or acting or whatever. The gift of art is something that we can always draw on. You know, that's why people are so drawn to certain music. You know, because that's what shakes them up emotionally. You know, and you know, like you go and see a Paul McCartney show, right? And first of all, you'll be crying before you know it, because he'll remind you of your childhood. He'll remind you of every time you heard that song on the radio, and when you held that girl's hand, or when you blah, 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 you know. And I know I've been with people, and I've seen people my age just singing every song and just crying. And that's a beautiful thing, because music is like this magic key, and it goes in the slot, and when the song starts, it opens, and all your emotions come flooding out, because they need to. They're all locked in there, because life, we have to be tough. This is what we know.
Yeah, it's so strange about music, right? I mean,
yeah, but you play, you know, sometimes I'll play the simplest thing, and someone will write to me and say, because you played that song after that one, I was in this state, and then you gave me a release. I had no idea. I didn't do that. I was just doing my job. That's all, you know. But for some reason, I knew that song should follow that one, and you know, and it meant something to that one person, and it may have been a room with 1,500 people in there, you know, waiting for classical gas. So it's different for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
I always have a good joke with my audience. I say stuff like, you know, I'd like to do a medley of The Cradle of Filth into Five Finger Death Punch, and finish off with a couple of Metallica tunes, you know, stuff like that.
Cradle of Filth with a Tommy Emmanuel arrangement. How should that sound? It's fast, probably, right? Fast and loud.
I don't know.
It just makes me even more curious to see you play tonight. I'll be taking Pablo van der Poel, who will be a guest also in the show. He's a really great Dutch player. I told him, he lives half an hour away from here. So I told him, let's go see the show after the interview. So I'll be taking him along.
Great.
Yeah, would you mind picking your guitar up,
sure.
Tommy? That's unusual in the show, but I just have to ask. This is maybe a one-off, I'll just point this towards you.
No, we'll just do it this way. I'll show you how we do it.
And there's an ambulance in the background. So
all right, now I'm going to... This is live, folks. All right, here we go. Here's a little bit of a song that jumped out of a closet and got inside me in a little motel in New Zealand.
due to a copyright, I unfortunately can't share the song Tommy played here. If you want to hear it, make sure to tune in to the YouTube channel of 60 Scales and the Truth.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Tommy Emmanuel.
All right.
Thank you for being my guest. And thank you for this song.
Thank you.
And listeners, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, listeners.